The words came across the table like she was commenting on the weather. You know, sometimes I wonder what you actually contribute to this family. We were at brunch. Her favorite place, white tablecloths, mimosas she didn't pay for, waiters who knew her by name. My treat, like it had been every month for the past 3 years. My mother sat across from me, picking at her eggs Benedict, while my sister Lauren scrolled through her phone, half listening. "What do you mean?" I asked, setting down my coffee carefully. She sighed, that particular sigh that said she was about to explain something obvious to someone dim. "I mean, Lauren's a nurse. She helps people. She's doing something important. And you ... She waved her hand vaguely. "You're doing what, exactly?" "Bookkeeping. I'm a financial analyst, Mum. I work for numbers," she interrupted. "You move numbers around on a computer. It's not exactly saving lives." She smiled at Lauren, who finally looked up and shrugged apologetically. But she didn't correct our mother. She never did. I'd heard variations of this my whole life. Lauren was the golden child. Pretty, social, married to a doctor. I was the practical one, the boring one, the one who somehow always ended up paying for brunch while being told I didn't contribute enough. My mother ordered another mimosa, her third. I watched the waiter pour it, knowing I'd be covering the tab. Again. "You know what you should do," she continued, warming to her theme. "You should try to be more like Lauren. Meet people. Get out more. Maybe find a husband who can take care of you, since your job clearly isn't going anywhere." Lauren had the decency to look uncomfortable, but she still didn't say anything. She just took a sip of her water and looked away. "I'm doing fine, Mum," I said quietly. "I have a good job. I'm stable." "Stable," she repeated the word, like it tasted bad. "That's what you call it. Honey, you're 32 years old, living in a tiny apartment, working yourself to death for what? So you can be stable." She reached across and patted my hand, a gesture that felt more like a dismissal than comfort. "I just worry you're wasting your potential. You could be so much more if you just tried harder." The waiter brought the check. I reached for it automatically, like I always did. My mother didn't even glance at it. She was already gathering her purse, checking her lipstick and a compact mirror. "Thanks for breakfast, sweetie," she said, kissing my cheek. "Same time next month?" I nodded, smiled, pulled out my credit card while she and Lauren walked toward the door, already talking about Lauren's upcoming vacation to Turks and Caicos. I sat there after they left, staring at the receipt. $147 for brunch, for the privilege of being told I was useless. I added a 20% tip because the waiter had been kind and walked to my car in the parking lot. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Can you send me $500? So Gardner needs to be paid and I'm short this month." "You're so good with money stuff." I stared at that message for a long time. Short this month. She was always short. Had been for years. Ever since my father died and left her with more house than income, she'd been short, and I'd been filling the gaps. The property tax last year, the roof repair before that, the new appliances, the car payment when hers broke down. Thousands of dollars, handed over quietly, never discussed at family gatherings. But I was the one who wasn't contributing. I started scrolling back through our text history. Request after request. "Can you help with ... I need ... double quotes." None of them loans. None of them paid back. I did the math in my head, rough numbers, conservative estimates. Over the past 5 years, I'd given my mother close to $60,000. Money she'd never acknowledged. Money that apparently didn't count as contribution. I looked up at the restaurant, where she'd just called me useless over eggs I'd paid for, and something inside me went very quiet and very still. I didn't respond to the text right away. I drove home, made coffee, and opened my laptop. Then I did what I do best. I looked at numbers. Spreadsheets don't lie. They don't make excuses or rewrite history. I built a ledger going back 7 years to right after Dad died. Every Venmo transfer, every check. Every time I'd helped out with bills, repairs, gifts for Lauren's kids, the country club membership Mum refused to give up. I documented everything, dated and categorized. The total made my stomach drop. $73,412. I sat back and stared at that number. That was a down payment on a house. That was 2 years of retirement contributions I'd skipped. That was the reason I drove a 10-year-old car and lived in a tiny apartment while my mother redecorated her living room every 18 months. I created a second document, a simple budget analysis of my mother's spending versus her actual income from Dad's life insurance and Social Security. She wasn't just short. She was living like she made 3 times what she actually had, and I was the difference. I was the credit card she never had to pay off. My phone buzzed again. "Did you see my message? I really need that money by Friday." I looked at that text for a long time. Then I opened a new document. and started typing. I spent the next week watching everything differently. I showed up to Lauren's house for dinner on Tuesday like I always did. My mother was there, wearing a new designer blouse I knew cost at least $300. She kissed my cheek and asked if I'd thought about her request. Still working on it, I said, non-committal. She frowned slightly, but let it go, moving on to tell Lauren about a spa day she was planning. I sat at the table and ate pot roast while my mother talked about salt scrubs and hot stone massages. Lauren's husband asked about my work, polite but disinterested. I gave short answers. Nobody pressed. After dinner, I helped Lauren clear the dishes. In the kitchen, she glanced back toward the dining room and lowered her voice. "Are you okay? You seem quiet. Just tired," I said. "Mum's stressed about money again," Lauren said, loading the dishwasher. "I wish I could help more, but with the kids' tuition and everything ... double quotes," she trailed off, the implication clear. She couldn't help, which meant I should. I nodded and said nothing. Lauren squeezed my arm sympathetically, like I was the one with the problem to solve. Like this was just how things were. That night, I made a phone call, then another. By Thursday, I'd opened a new bank account at a different institution. By Friday, I'd transferred my savings and rerouted my direct deposit. I left exactly $500 in my old account, the amount my mother had requested. Saturday morning, I texted my mother, "Sent the $500. Should be in your account." She replied immediately, "Thank you, honey. You're a lifesaver." I stared at that word. Lifesaver. Not contributor, not helpful, lifesaver. Because apparently my worth was measured in how well I kept her afloat while she called me useless. I sent one more text. "Mum, I need to talk to you about something. Can we meet for coffee next week?" "Of course. Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. Just need to discuss some things." "Okay, sweetie. Tuesday?" "Tuesday works." I set my phone down and looked around my apartment. My tiny, stable, boring apartment that I'd paid for entirely by myself. The furniture I'd saved up for. The art on the walls I'd chosen carefully. The life I'd built while being told it wasn't enough. I walked to my desk and pulled out the folder I'd been preparing. Inside were printed bank statements, the spreadsheet of every dollar I'd given her, and a letter I'd written and rewritten a dozen times. 3 pages, single-spaced, every word measured. At the bottom, I'd included a simple invoice-style summary and one sentence in bold: total family contribution, 2018 to 2025, $73,412. I read it one more time, made one small edit, and printed a fresh copy. Then I tucked it back in the folder and put it in my bag. Tuesday was 4 days away. 4 more days of being the daughter who didn't contribute enough. After Tuesday, I'd be someone else entirely. Tuesday came. Same coffee shop where we'd met 100 times before. My mother was already there when I arrived, stirring a latte, looking at her phone. She smiled when she saw me, the smile that used to make me feel warm and now just felt like a performance. "Hi, honey," she said, kissing my cheek. "I ordered you a cappuccino. Your usual." "Thanks, Mum." I sat down, setting my bag carefully beside my chair. The folder was inside, waiting. She dove right in, talking about her weeked garden club meeting, a new restaurant she'd tried, something funny Lauren's daughter had said. I let her talk, watching her hands gesture, her face animated. She looked happy, comfortable, safe in a world where I always said yes. Finally, she paused and looked at me. "So, what did you want to talk about? You sounded so serious." I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder, set it on the table between us. "I wanted to talk about money," I said calmly. Her face shifted slightly, not quite defensive, but cautious. "Okay, ... I opened the folder and slid the first page toward her. The spreadsheet. 7 years of transactions, color-coded and totaled. This is a record of every financial contribution I've made to you since Dad died. Every payment, every transfer, every time you've asked for help." She glanced at it, then looked up at me, confused. "What is this?" $73,000, Mum. That's what I've contributed to this family." She stared at the paper, her finger tracing down the columns like she was looking for an error. I don't understand why you're showing me this. Last week at brunch, you said you wondered what I actually contribute to this family." My voice was steady, calm. No anger, just facts. I wanted to answer that question properly. Her face flushed. "Honey, I didn't mean you did mean it, Mum. You've meant it every time." I slid the second page across. The letter. "This explains everything. How much I've given, how much you've spent, how I've been subsidizing a lifestyle you can't actually afford while you tell me I'm not doing enough. She picked up the letter, her hands shaking slightly. I watched her eyes move across the words, saw the moment she understood what this meant. Are you asking for this money back? Her voice was small, uncertain. No, I said. I'm not asking for anything back. Consider it a gift. $73,000 worth of contribution from your useless daughter who just moves numbers around. I never said useless. You said I don't contribute. You said Lauren saves lives and I just do ... What was it? Bookkeeping? I took a sip of my cappuccino. It was perfect. So I wanted to be clear about exactly what I'd been doing while you haven't been paying attention. She looked up at me, tears forming. Why are you being so cruel? I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. There's a difference. She set the letter down, her hand covering her mouth. So, what are you saying? You're cutting me off. I'm saying I'm done being invisible while paying for everything. I slid the final page across, a simple printed statement from my new bank. Account number partially redacted. 0 transaction history with her name. I've moved my accounts, changed my banking. You won't be able to request transfers anymore. But how am I supposed to? The same way everyone else does, Mum. You budget, you make choices. You live within your means. I kept my voice gentle, but firm. You have Dad's life insurance. You have Social Security. It's enough if you stop spending like it's still 2010. She was crying now, mascara starting to run. People at nearby tables were glancing over. I didn't care. I can't believe you're doing this, she whispered. After everything I've done for you. That almost made me laugh. Almost. What have you done for me exactly? Besides, tell me I'm not enough while spending my money. She had no answer. She just sat there, crying quietly, the spreadsheet in front of her like evidence at a trial. I finished my cappuccino and stood up, slinging my bag over my shoulder. I love you, Mum. I always will. But I'm done being your ATM while you treat me like a disappointment. When you're ready to see me as your daughter instead of your backup plan, call me. Really call me. Not for money. For me. I put $20 on the table for both our coffees and walked toward the door. Wait, she called out. What about next month? Our brunch. I turned back one last time. I'll let you know, I said. And then I walked out into the sunshine, lighter than I'd felt in 7 years. My phone stayed silent the rest of the day, and for the first time in forever, that felt exactly right.